Good day everyone, I'm Mark Clarence Palunan from BSCE 2B and I am here to talk about Terrestrial in Chapter 2, Ecological System and Disturbances. Terrestrial refers to the related things on the land or the earth. Ecosystem is a community of living organisms of a particular region living in conjunction with non-living components.
Ecosystem can be as small as an oasis in a desert or as big as an ocean.
It is also a geographic area where plants, animals, and other organisms, as well as weather and landscape, work together to form a bubble of life. Ecosystems contain biotic or living parts, as well as abiotic factors or non-living parts. Biotic factors include plants, animals, and other organisms.
So, what is a terrestrial ecosystem? The type of ecosystems which are predominantly found on land are called the terrestrial ecosystems.
Terrestrial ecosystems cover approximately 140 to 150 million kilometers squared, which is about 25 to 30% of the total Earth surface area.
It is a land-based community of organisms and the interactions of biotic and abiotic components in a given area. The type of terrestrial ecosystem found in a particular place is dependent on the temperature range, the average amount of precipitation received, the soil type, and the amount of light it receives.
Types of terrestrial ecosystems. There are different types of terrestrial ecosystems which are widely distributed around the geological zones. They include
Forest, grasslands, tundra, and desert.
forests. These types of ecosystems include both temperate deciduous forests, plantation forests, and tropical rainforests. They serve as a natural habitat for a vast range of living species and also comprise the highest species diversity. Forests cover nearly 30 to 35 million square kilometers over the Earth's surface, and more than 300 million species of plants and animals lives in forests.
A forest is also a complex ecological system in which trees are the dominant life form. A forest is nature's most efficient ecosystem with a high rate of photosynthesis and affecting both plant and animal systems in a series of complex organic relationships. Grasslands. Grasslands are the most dominant type of vegetation, and these types of environments occur naturally in several parts of the world. These types of terrestrial ecosystems serve as a home for a wide diversity of animal species such as elephants, giraffes, hyenas, jackrabbits, lions, rhinos, warthogs, and zebras. Grassland ecosystem is also an area where the vegetation is dominated by grasses and other herbaceous or non-woody plants. It is, it is also called as transitional landscape because grassland ecosystems are dominated by the grass with few or no trees in the area where there is not enough for a forest and too much of a forest.
Tundra. Tundra denotes polar regions which are characterized by harsh environmental conditions, similar to deserts, and is usually windswept snow-covered, and treeless. Compared to deserts, this type of ecosystem is completely filled with frozen soil throughout the year and in summer. The snow melts and shallow ponds are produced. This gives rise to lynches and a few plants with small and colorful flowers.
Tundra ecosystems are treeless regions found in the Arctic and on the tops of mountains, where the climate is cold and windy and rainfall is scant. Tundra lands are covered with snow for much of the year, but summer brings bursts of wildflowers.
Desert. The desert is a barren region of the landscape which has extremely high or low temperatures and has scarce vegetation. Depending on the climate and temperature, deserts can be classified into hot deserts and cold deserts. There are many lives that are well adapted to life in the desert.
Animals include camels, foxes, hyenas, jackals, scorpions, a few varieties of snakes, and lizards. The common plants are acacia, cactus, and date palms. A desert ecosystem is defined by interactions between organisms, the climate in which they live, and any other non-living influences on the habitat. Deserts are arid regions that are generally associated with warm temperatures. However, cold deserts also exist.
What is the example of hot desert? Sahara is one of the example of a hot desert which is categorized by high temperatures associated with little rainfall and complicated life for both plants and animals.
The Sahara Desert, located on the African continent, is the largest hot desert in the world. The enormous Sahara spans over 11 countries, including Algeria, Egypt, Libya, Mali, and Niger. It covers over 9.2 million square kilometers, roughly the size of the United States of America, amounting to 31% of Africa. The chief landforms of the Sahara Desert include dunes, hamada, regs, ergs, salt flats, and oases.
What is the example of cold desert?
Ladakh. Ladakh is an example of a cold desert which is found on the eastern side of Jammu and Kashmir near the Great Himalayas. The Karakoram Range in the north and the Zanskar Mountains in the south enclose it. Several rivers flow through Ladakh, Indus being the most important among them. Why should we protect our terrestrial ecosystems? Terrestrial ecosystems include all the diverse flora and fauna that inhabit our landscapes. Terrestrial ecosystems provide many services, including providing habitat for fauna and flora, providing food, fiber, fuel, shelter, resources, storing, transforming, and releasing carbon, water, and other nutrients, reducing the impact of floods, cyclones, and droughts, protecting soil resources from salinity and erosion, producing atmospheric oxygen, regulating climate. Grazing, forestry, horticulture, and cropping systems rely on pastures, trees, pollination, and other elements of terrestrial ecosystems. Terrestrial ecosystems provided food and other resources for traditional indigenous lifestyles and have cultural significance to indigenous people today. Aside from that, terrestrial ecosystems also support social and recreational activities.
Healthy ecosystems clean our water, purify our air, maintain our soil, regulate the climate, recycle nutrients, and provide us with food. They provide raw materials and resources from medicines and other purposes. They are at the foundation of all civilization and sustain our economies. It's that simple. We could not live without these ecosystem services. They are what we call our natural capital.
Protected and restored ecosystems and the biodiversity they support can help mitigate climate change and provide increased resilience in the face of increased human pressures and mounting disasters. That said, accelerating biodiversity loss, along with continued poaching and trafficking of wildlife, is alarming. How can we protect the terrestrial ecosystems? We can protect the terrestrial ecosystem by planting trees every year and protecting them till they are grown up. Reusing solid waste in such a way that there is less burden on the municipality and government agencies to manage them. Protecting water bodies such as rivers, ponds, lakes, and wetlands in the neighborhood. Managing pesticides in agriculture.
In ecology, a disturbance is a temporary change in environmental conditions that causes a pronounced change in an ecosystem. Disturbances often act quickly and with great effect to alter the physical structure or arrangement of biotic and abiotic elements. Disturbances are events like tornadoes, wildfires, or floods that cause marked changes to the impacted area. Stressors, like pathogens or water stress, are dynamics that impair or compromise the function of productivity of the system. Disturbances and stressors are often thought as one in the same, and while they can have similar effects to agriculture production, to rangeland and forest resources, there are important differences worth considering. It is important to note these differences because it may change the management approach or practice being considered when dealing with a disturbance event like a flood or persistent stressor such as nitrogen deposition. Examples of ecological disturbances include fires, landslides, flooding, windstorms, and insect and pest outbreaks. Disturbances often come in the form of short-term or temporary changes to the landscape, but can have very significant ecosystem impacts. These events often act quickly but with great impact and thereby are able to promote changes to the physical structure of the system.
Simply put, if we don't protect nature, we can't protect ourselves.
The only way we can solve a problem is by a human solution. Never can we sit back and wait for miracles to save us. Miracles don't happen. Sweat happens. Efforts happens. Thought happens.